Let me ask you something. Think about the hardest period of your life, not a bad day, a real stretch, weeks or months, where things were genuinely hard, where you didn't know how it was going to end, where you were pushed to a limit you didn't know you had. Now think about who you were on the other side of it. Chances are, if you got through it and you actually reflect on it honestly, you became someone different, clearer, stronger in some way that's hard to fully explain, more certain of what you can handle, more patient with the small stuff, like something in you had been tested and held, and now you knew it would hold again. That didn't happen to you despite the pain. It happened because of it. And yet most of us spend enormous energy trying to avoid pain, to get around it, to make life as comfortable and as smooth as possible. And when pain arrives anyway, as it always does, we treat it as a problem to solve, an obstacle to remove, a sign that something has gone wrong. The Stoics had a completely different relationship with pain, not because they were masochists, not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood something that most people never fully accept. Pain is not the opposite of a good life. Handled correctly, it is one of the ingredients of it. Stay with me until the end. I'm going to give you a specific daily practice that will change your relationship with difficulty, not by making it easier, but by making you someone who can actually use it. Welcome to Season 3, The Stoic Warrior. 2 seasons in, we built the foundation, the outer game of focus, emotional control, discipline, and wealth. Then, the inner game of the mind. The stories, the fear, the overthinking, the mental toughness, and peace. Season 3 is where everything gets forged. The warrior isn't someone who never hurts. It's someone who has learned to use pain instead of run from it. And this episode is where that starts. If you're just joining this series, subscribe now and hit the bell. Every episode connects, and what's coming this season is the most powerful work we've done yet. Don't start in the middle. Part 1. The thing most people get wrong about pain here is something that the comfort-first world we live in does not want you to believe. Most of the things that make you stronger, sharper, more capable, and more genuinely confident, they come with pain attached. The workout that improves your body requires physical discomfort. The difficult conversation that saves a relationship requires emotional exposure. The business that builds wealth requires risk and failure. The skill that earns mastery requires thousands of hours of frustrating, imperfect practice. The person you're most proud of being was built by experiences that were often hard. None of this is a coincidence. It is the actual mechanism. Growth and pain are not opposites. They travel together, and a life organized entirely around avoiding pain is a life that accidentally avoids growth too. The problem isn't that people don't know this on some level. Most people do. The problem is what happens in the actual moment of discomfort. In that moment, the brain doesn't say, "This is an opportunity for growth." It says, "Stop, this hurts, get out." And most people obey. And the pattern repeats, and the life stays smaller than the person living it. Epictetus had a perspective on pain that no amount of comfortable philosophy could have produced. He was born into slavery. He was beaten by his master so severely that his leg was permanently damaged. He had no freedom, no status, no safety, and what emerged from that, not despite those conditions but shaped by them, was one of the clearest, most rigorous minds in the history of Western thought. He didn't romanticize his suffering. He didn't say it was good that those things happened to him. But he understood something visceral about pain that people who have never really suffered don't fully grasp. It is difficulties that show what men are. Epictetus, discourses, not successes. Not comfortable moments. Not the periods when everything is going well and life is easy. Difficulties. That's where you find out who you actually are. And that knowledge, not the knowledge that things went well, but the knowledge that when things went badly, you still held, is the foundation of genuine self-confidence. The kind that doesn't depend on conditions. Part 2. How great people actually think about pain. When you look at the people who have done extraordinary things, who have built something remarkable, who have overcome obstacles most would have quit at, who have become genuinely excellent at something, there is a pattern in how they relate to difficulty that is different from the norm. They don't pretend it doesn't hurt. They don't tell themselves pain is fine or pleasant or to be sought out for its own sake. They feel it like everyone else. But somewhere along the way, they developed a different relationship with what the pain means. Instead of hearing "stop, this is a sign you're going the wrong way," they learn to hear, "This is the signal that something real is happening." That you're in the zone where most people quit. That what's on the other side of this is available to very few people, because most won't stay. That reframe, from pain as a stop sign to pain as a signal, is one of the most powerful shifts a person can make. And it doesn't require that the pain become less real. It only requires that you change what you decide it means. We talked about Michael Jordan's high school story in Season 2, but I want to come back to it from a different angle, because what Jordan did with the pain of being cut is a perfect example of this principle. Being cut from the varsity team hurt. He was humiliated. He cried. That part is real. What made Jordan different wasn't that it didn't hurt. It was what he decided the pain meant. He didn't let it mean, "You're not good enough." He decided it meant, "You have more work to do." The pain became data, and the data produced action. He went to the gym every morning before school. He outworked everyone. He used the specific pain of that moment as fuel for years. That is the Stoic move. Not suppression, not pretending, not forced positivity. Using what is real and painful as the raw material for what comes next. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. This is one of the most famous lines in the Meditations, and it is easy to nod at it and move on. But sit with it for a moment. What stands in the way becomes the way. The obstacle is not blocking the path. For the person who knows how to use it, the obstacle is the path. The difficult relationship teaches you things about yourself that an easy one never would. The business failure shows you weaknesses in your thinking that success would have hidden. The health crisis forces a reckoning with what actually matters that a healthy life often postpones. The loss, as brutal as it is, opens something in a person that comfort never touches. None of this makes the difficult things good in themselves, but it makes them usable, and the person who can use their pain is the person who grows through their life instead of just surviving it. Part 3. 3 types of pain. Worth embracing. Let me be clear about something. Embracing pain doesn't mean seeking out suffering for its own sake. It doesn't mean refusing help when you need it. It doesn't mean pretending hardship is good when it's genuinely destructive. The Stoics were precise about this. There is pain that is just pain, without purpose, without lesson, without any growth on the other side. And there is pain that is the price of something that matters. The second kind is worth embracing. The first kind is not. Here are 3 specific types of pain that the Stoics and the evidence of extraordinary lives suggest are always worth walking toward. Type 1. The pain of doing the hard thing. This is the discomfort of beginning something difficult, of maintaining something that requires daily effort, of staying consistent when the initial motivation has faded. Every person who has ever built anything worth having has lived inside this kind of pain. The athlete who trains on the days they don't want to. The entrepreneur who keeps showing up after the failure. The student who keeps studying when the subject stops being interesting. The parent who keeps showing up fully, even on the days they're running on empty. This pain feels like resistance. And resistance, as we talked about in Season 1, is almost always a signal that something real is happening. The Stoics called this the practice, the daily, unglamorous showing up that builds everything worth building. It hurts in the small way that growing things always hurt. And the person who learns to walk toward that discomfort instead of away from it has an enormous advantage over almost everyone around them. Type 2. The pain of honest self-examination. This is one of the most avoided pains in human life, and it might be the most valuable. Seeing yourself clearly, not the version you tell yourself, not the version you present to others, but the actual version with all its patterns and blind spots and habitual failures, is uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. The parts of yourself that keep showing up in the same ways, making the same mistakes, choosing the same comfortable avoidances, looking directly at those things without defending them or explaining them away is painful in a specific, almost physical way. But Marcus Aurelius did this every single morning. In his private journal, he examined himself, not to punish himself, to see clearly. And what he wrote is remarkable for its honesty. An emperor writing that he is lazy, that he is sometimes petty, that he doesn't always live up to his own principles. That kind of self-examination takes courage, and it produces something no amount of positive self-talk can produce: actual knowledge of who you are and what you need to work on. Never esteem anything as of advantage to you that will make you break your word or lose your self-respect. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. Self-respect here means something specific, not self-esteem in the modern feel-good sense. It means the ability to look yourself in the eye, to know that what you see is real. That kind of self-respect requires the pain of an honest self-examination. There is no shortcut around it. Type 3. The pain of growing beyond your current self. This is the specific discomfort of becoming someone you've never been before. Every version of yourself that is larger than the current one, more capable, more emotionally intelligent, more disciplined, more at peace, requires you to do things the current version of you doesn't yet know how to do. And learning those things feels awkward, embarrassing sometimes, like you don't quite fit in the new space yet. Seneca wrote about this discomfort with unusual compassion. He understood that most people retreat back to who they've always been, not because they lack desire for growth, but because the in-between state, no longer who you were, not yet who you're becoming, is genuinely uncomfortable. You're in unfamiliar territory. You don't have the same confidence you had in the old version, and the pull back to what's familiar is strong. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca, Letters to Lucilius. The fear of becoming someone new is almost always worse than the actual experience of becoming them. The discomfort of growth, felt from inside it, is almost never as bad as it looks from the outside. You get there, and you find that you could handle it. And then the next version of yourself is slightly larger again. Part 4. The Warrior Mindset. What it actually means. The title of Season 3 is The Stoic Warrior. And I want to be precise about what that means, because warrior gets misunderstood. The Stoic Warrior is not someone who is angry or aggressive or looking for a fight. It is someone who is prepared so thoroughly in their mind, their values, their relationship with difficulty, that when hard things arrive, they are ready. Not because they knew exactly what was coming, because they've been building the person who can handle whatever comes. Marcus Aurelius was a warrior in this sense. He didn't want the wars he fought. He didn't enjoy the loss or the difficulty or the years of pressure. But he had spent so much time preparing his mind through his journaling, his philosophy, his daily practice of examining himself and returning to his values, that when the worst arrived, he had something to meet it with. The warrior is not fearless. We said this in Season 2, Episode 2. The warrior feels fear and chooses to act anyway. The warrior doesn't love pain. The warrior has developed the ability to use pain. Every hard thing becomes material. Every setback becomes data. Every loss becomes a lesson, even if it's a brutal one. We've talked about Mandela before in this series, but for the Season 3 opener, his story belongs here more than anywhere. 27 years in prison for a crime he was proud of, in conditions designed to break him, watched by a government that hoped he would emerge small and bitter and irrelevant. Instead, he emerged larger, more patient, more certain, with a moral authority that people could feel in the same room with him, not despite the 27 years, because of what he did with them. He studied, he thought, he prepared for a South Africa he didn't know for certain he would live to see. He maintained his dignity so consistently, in conditions that offered every reason to lose it, that when he walked out of prison, the dignity was simply part of who he was. It had been forged in. It was no longer something he practiced. It was something he had become. That is the Stoic Warrior at his fullest, not someone who avoided the fire, someone who let the fire do what fire does to the right material, and emerged refined. Here is the arc of Season 3. We start here, with pain, and the willingness to use it. Episode 2 is the power of silence, which is about developing the internal stillness that lets you hear what actually matters. Episode 3 is how to become unshakable, building the kind of groundedness that life circumstances cannot move. Episode 4 is the discipline of champions, the specific daily structure of the people who perform at the highest levels over the longest time. And Episode 5 is Mastering Yourself, the season finale, and the culmination of everything across all 3 seasons. This is the final season. It is the most demanding, and if you've made it this far in the series, you are already someone who can handle what's coming. The practical solution, the voluntary discomfort practice here, is the practice for this episode. It is the one the Stoics called voluntary discomfort, and it is one of the most transformative things you can build into your daily life. The idea is simple. Every day, intentionally do one thing that is genuinely uncomfortable, but that serves you, not pain for its own sake. Discomfort in the direction of who you want to become. And then, in your evening review, sit with what that discomfort taught you. 1. Choose your discomfort intentionally. Each morning, identify one thing you will do today that your current self would prefer to avoid. It should be uncomfortable in a way that points toward growth, not just unpleasant. A difficult conversation you've been putting off, a physical challenge, starting the project you've been circling, sitting with a difficult emotion instead of distracting from it, doing the thing you know is right, even though it's awkward or scary or uncertain. The specifics are less important than the pattern. You are choosing discomfort on purpose in the direction of growth every single day. That practice over time rewires your relationship with difficulty. It stops being something that happens to you and starts being something you move toward. 2. Ask what the pain is teaching you in your evening review. Add one question. What did today's difficulty teach me? Not what happened, not whether it went well. What did it show you? About your capacity, about your patterns, about where you still need work, and where you're stronger than you thought. The Stoics believed that difficulty without reflection is just suffering. But difficulty with reflection is education, the most expensive education available, and also the most permanent. What you learn by going through something hard and examining it afterward stays with you in a way that nothing you read or watch or hear ever quite matches. 3. Reframe the pain before you face it. Before you do the hard thing, say this to yourself, out loud if possible. This is the work, not the obstacle to the work. The work itself, this discomfort, is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something real is happening. Most people won't stay here. I will. This reframe, done consistently, changes the meaning of pain in real time. It shifts the signal from stop to go. It does not make the pain less real. It makes it purposeful. And purposeful pain is something a person can walk through. Random suffering is much harder to bear. Choose it. Reflect on it. Reframe it. That is the voluntary discomfort practice, simple enough to start today, deep enough to change you over time. The Stoics practiced this deliberately. Marcus Aurelius fasted occasionally, not because he was hungry, but to practice being okay with hunger. Seneca slept on a hard floor, sometimes not because his bed was unavailable, but to practice being okay without comfort. Epictetus, who had nothing, taught from that place of having nothing, and found it gave him a freedom that the most comfortable people around him didn't have. They were not torturing themselves. They were training themselves, building the person who, when difficulty arrived without invitation, already knew how to stand inside it. That is the warrior, and you are building them right now. Endure and renounce. Epictetus. Endure what must be endured. Renounce what doesn't serve you. 2 words. A complete philosophy of living with pain, not avoiding it, not being destroyed by it, using it. Before you go, one thing, right now, in the comments, write the one hard thing you are choosing to face this week, not the one you're hoping will get easier, the one you've been avoiding, the one you know is on the other side of something you need. Write it here, because naming it in public is already the first act of choosing it. And this community, the people who have made it this far in this series, will see it. You are not doing this alone. Think of someone who is in the middle of something hard right now, not someone who needs advice, someone who is in the fire and needs a reminder that the fire is not destroying them. It is forging them. Send them this episode, not as an answer to their pain, as a companion in it. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because episode 2 of season 3 is the power of silence, and it goes somewhere that almost nobody talks about in a world that is constantly loud. The Stoics had a very specific reason for silence that has nothing to do with being quiet. You'll want to hear it. I want to close with something that I think is worth sitting with. The version of you that is reading this right now. The person who has made it through 2 seasons of this work, who has examined their stories, faced their fear, stopped overthinking, built mental toughness, and found the beginning of inner peace. That person was built by hard things. Every hard thing you survived, every moment you stayed when you could have left, every time you kept going when stopping was easier. You didn't choose most of those hard things, but you got through them, and they shaped you into someone who can now choose them, who can walk toward the discomfort intentionally, who can use pain as a tool instead of endure it as a punishment. That is not a small thing. That is the work of a lifetime, and you are doing it. The obstacle is the way. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. Not around it, not through it as fast as possible. The obstacle is the way. Whatever is hard right now is not in the way of your growth. It is the path of it. Walk toward it. I'll see you in episode 2.